Today, we now look at the role media plays in shining a light on gender-based violence, and we're joined via Skype by Mo Senne. She's the head of communications for Not In My Name SA. Mo, thank you so much for joining us. I'd just like us to revisit a conversation we heard some time back here on the show when Not In My Name was so displeased with the SABC covering the mother of a rapist, and one of the things you decried in that conversation about was how insensitive media sometimes seems in terms of how it covers these events. We'll get into that, but let's start with a letter that Not In My Name has sent to President Cyril Ramaphosa. It's a very important letter, and you're highlighting to him how organizations such as Not In My Name are not supported by the Department of Social Development. But the other thing you say there is that the president is usually silent in GBV matters, and when he is not silent, when he speaks, he lacks empathy in a country that is still the rape capital in the world. What were you wanting to highlight in this letter?
Hi, thank you so much for having us. In the letter, I was really just crestfallen to find that 3 years later, I'm able to merge statements and memorandums that we've handed over. 3 years later, nothing much has changed. Yes, last night, just before we even released the open letter, we found that there's nothing that he said that made me want to change the letter. He spoke about an emergency response plan and strategy. These are things that were supposed to have happened November last year already. There were funds that they were talking about. There were plans and launches. He's attended summits. There's so much that has paved the way for us to be better, but it doesn't seem that that is happening. So I feel like Mavani, he was just mentioning GBV for the sake of mentioning it. And no, you didn't touch on GBV. There's nothing that he said that made me have faith at all in the justice system, in him, and just in us curbing the scourge of GBV anytime soon under his leadership.
So today on the program, we're asking our viewers, what is the role of silence in perpetrating gender-based violence? What for you are the things that could be done either by government or by media that show a commitment to eradicating the scourge?
I think when it comes to media, what is of prime importance when you report is to prioritize the survivor's best interest. Their interest must take precedence over other objectives, including just drawing attention to grave GB violations. Yes, it is necessary to report on these things, but besides just raising awareness, what other objective is there for you? And in the advert that it's just about human interest, you need to look at how it's going to impact the survivor negatively. What kind of life they're going to have after that? Are you infringing on their privacy, their dignity, their safety? And the kind of language as well that you use. You know, words like alleged and accuser and saying a woman was killed. Killed by whom? And if we're calling her an accuser, you know, because of the kind of society that we live in, how you report automatically sets the tone for how people are going to receive it. For instance, if you report about a rape and then you want to talk about what she was wearing, where she was, who she was with, what she was doing, people then focus on trivial details. It's not important, all of those details that you want to mention. What is important is what has happened to her and how we feel that things could change. As far as the legal system on its own, I feel there's plenty that we could do. personally welcome the fact that the Sexual Offences Act and the Customary Marriages Act are getting amended, and there are conversations around that, and progress. That's all well and good. But in a broader sphere, I really feel that there are other interventions that we could take a look at, especially when it comes to the prisons. For instance, there has been reports that our correctional facilities aren't really correctional, and we have more unnatural deaths there than what should actually be normal. So we're releasing hardened criminals back into society for them to become repeat offenders. There is no reform, there's no rehabilitation. And then I feel in the place of bail, people should rather be subject to mandatory GBV training. So, let's just say if you have been accused as a perpetrator, then in order for us to stop this thing, repeat offending, then Moto must be subject to the GBV sensitivity training. And then that's where you assess things like remorse and if they really actually understood what they're doing, what kind of intervention. There's a lot that can be done on a short-term and long-term basis that I feel where it's the correctional services and our president and everyone under the leadership under whose leadership we're currently following is not even the Department of Social Development. I'm not happy.
All right, we're talking to Mo Senne. She's from Not In My Name SA, and we're going to continue with this conversation. It's also linked to a question we're asking you: what is the role of silence in perpetuating gender-based violence in our society? We're going to continue with this conversation, so stay with us. But at this point, we're going to say goodbye to our SABC2 viewers. If you are interested in continuing with the conversation, please join us on SABC channel 404. Let's take a break for now.